teaching you so you can become chair.
Okay. Well, I guess it entails quite a bit of work.
There's
Well, you just
honeycut.
have to talk to them. And
Good job.
it's all written down. If you read your planning commission, the next few pages will say,
Yeah.
this is.
I'd like to call the Monday, July 26, 2021 Blue Springs Planning Commission meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome everyone this evening, and for those watching at home. Tonight's agenda consists of the following items. We'll have a consent agenda. Item 2 is a public hearing, General Development Plan GDP 06217846 for Mo Bettas. Item 3 is public hearing, General Development Plan GDP 06217823 Franklin Smith Elementary addition and renovation. Item 4 is a General Development Plan GDP 06217827 James Lewis Elementary addition. Item 5 is a preliminary plat, PP 06217845 Mo Bettas. Item 6 is a site plan design review, SPDR 06217824 Franklin Smith Elementary addition and renovation. Item 7 is a preliminary plat, PP 06217825 Franklin Smith Elementary addition and renovation. Item 8 is a final plat, PF 06217826 Franklin Smith Elementary addition and renovation. Item 9, site plan design review, SPDR 06217828 James Lewis Elementary addition. And item 10 is a preliminary plat 06217829 James Lewis Elementary addition. Item 11, final plat PF 06217830 James Lewis Elementary addition. Item 12 is a master alternative sign plan, ASP 07217852 Blue Springs High School murals. Item 13 is a preliminary plat, PP 08197032 McAtee Meadows. And item 14 is other business, and item 15 is adjournment. At this time, I entertain a motion for the approval of the June 28th and July 12th meeting minutes from the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Banks and a second from Commissioner Billups. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So that motion carries. We'll move to item 2, and we'll hear item 2 and 5 together. So item 2 is a General Development Plan for Mo Bettas and the preliminary plat for Mo Bettas. And I will open the public hearing for agenda item 2, and we'll hear item 5 together and vote on them separately. And I'll now ask for exhibits from our City Attorney, Jackie Summer.
I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. Exhibit 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on June 26, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you. And at this time, we'll hear the staff's presentation. And Ms. Kelly, you'll be giving that today, I believe.
Good evening, Commission. Before you this evening are requests for demolition of the existing...
Ms. Kelly, if you could turn the mic on, I think it may be off. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Before you this evening are requests for demolition of the existing building, formerly a Long John Silver's fast food restaurant, and the new construction of a Mo Bettas fast food restaurant at 806 Northwest 7 Highway, which is located east of 7 Highway and south of Mock Avenue. The property is owned GB General Business and includes approximately 0.76 acres. The proposed 2,706 square foot building requires the approval of a general development plan and a preliminary plat, which are before you this evening. If both are approved, a final plat and a site plan design review to review the final building design must be approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. Additionally, public improvements to Northwest 7 Highway are required by Public Works and by MoDOT. The property will be redeveloped in one phase. The proposed building is a one-story pad site building, approximately 2,706 square feet. The upper half of the building's exterior facade is largely composed of brick and ephes, while the lower half is largely comprised of glazing and corrugated metal panels. The proposed variety of building materials and architectural details help provide four-sided design and architectural interest by breaking up the building facade on all four sides of the building. Staff believes the conceptual building renderings meet the intent of the building design standards. However, the architectural plans and details must be finalized with the site plan design review. The proposed building meets all development standards for setbacks and height. All vehicle parking requirements have also been met on the site. Based on the location and land use, one bike parking space is required. This requirement has been met. Pedestrian access is required. Currently, no public sidewalk exists along the portion of Northwest 7 Highway abutting this property. Prior to occupancy, an ADA-compliant sidewalk along Northwest 7 Highway must be installed as required by MoDOT and Public Works. Due to insufficient space in the public right-of-way, a sidewalk easement is being dedicated on the site. 2 shared cross-access drives will be installed, one connecting the properties adjacent to the north and south on the east rear edge, and one connecting the site to the property to the south on the east or front edge. The proposed development meets the UDC requirements except for 3 issues. Alternative development standards are being requested for these 3 items, which are as follows. Number 1, sidewalk requirement. The Unified Development Code requires that any building facade abutting a parking area or any sidewalk abutting parking with vehicle overhangs is required to have an 8-foot sidewalk. The applicant is requesting a reduction in this requirement to have a sidewalk that is 6.37 feet in width. Staff recommends approval of this reduction in order to meet the required 26-foot drive aisle width. There is insufficient room on the site to allow for both the 8-foot sidewalk and the 26-foot drive aisle. Number 2, the parking landscape buffer. The Unified Development Code requires a minimum 6-foot wide landscape buffer along the edge of the parking lot. Applicant is requesting to have no landscape buffer along that parking lot edge to the south of the property. Staff recommends approval of waiving the parking lot landscape buffer requirement because there is insufficient room on the site to provide for a 6-foot landscape buffer. The property has been used as a pad site fast food restaurant for many years without a parking lot landscape buffer, so it will not be a reduction from its present condition. And third, the use of buffers. The Unified Development Code states that required buffers shall be reserved solely for open space and landscaping. No proposed building addition, structure, parking area, or any other type of physical land improvement shall be located in the required buffer. The applicant is requesting to place the trash enclosure in the back of the lot, partially encroaching in the rear 25-foot landscape buffer. Staff believes that this is the best placement of the enclosure because placement elsewhere on the lot may obstruct circulation or occupy required parking spaces. Staff believes that 3 requested modifications from the UDC are minor and will improve the safety and usability for customers. Additionally, staff believes the intent of the code is met and any potential negative issues created by these modifications are mitigated by the proposed development. A condition of approval for Mobetta's General Development Plan, GDP 06217846, was not included in the original staff report submitted with the July 26, 2021 Planning Commission agenda packet. Staff recommends approval of the General Development Plan with one condition, which is approval by the City Council based on the representations of any drawings presented as part of this application does not waive any requirement or development standard contained in the UDC unless modified under the General Development Plan or modified with alternative development standards with a future site plan design review. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat PP 06217846 application with 4 conditions. And I will stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for staff at this time from the commissioners? All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and make a presentation? So if you do, then you'll just need to be sworn in and state your name and address for the record. Yes, please. And this gentleman will swear you in.
Oh, okay.
You solemnly swear the testimony about to give in this case is the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Need your name and address.
Okay, it's Frank Newman, 3801 West 61st Terrace, Fairway, Kansas. So I am the broker, real estate broker for Mo Betta's. And Mo Betta's is owned by the Savory Restaurant Group out of Salt Lake City. So we are very active in the Kansas City metro area, expanding Mo Betta's. We plan at the end of the day to have 8 to 12 locations in the Kansas City area. Very happy to be here in Blue Springs. And so typically our buildings are around 2,800 square feet, 25 to 2,800 with the drive-through. And so I think that's really about it. I just wanted to tell you guys about Savory and Mo Betta's.
Yeah. Is there any questions from the commissioners for the applicant? All right, thank you. Any other, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project? Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition of this project? Okay, any further discussion from the commissioners? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I would ask for a motion on the general development plan with the one condition.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Phillips.
I would move for approval of the GDP 06217846 General Development Plan for Mo Betta's with the one staff condition.
All right, thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Phillips. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Craddolph. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Honeycutt,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks, Commissioner Phillips,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Hose,
Aye.
Commissioner Craddolph,
Aye.
and Chair Sanderson.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, so that motion carried. That item would be recommended to be heard by the City Council at their Monday, August 2nd meeting at 6 p.m. But now ask for a motion on the preliminary plat.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Banks.
I'd like to make an inquiry as to how many conditions, because at first they said one, and then at the end they said 4.
I think it was one condition, and that was the motion, was the one condition.
Is there one?
For the general development plan, there's one condition.
Okay,
For the
thank you.
preliminary
Oh,
plat.
the
there's
preliminary
one.
plat
Preliminary
has-
plat's 4. I wanted to make it clear. Thank
Yep.
you very much.
All right, entertain a motion for the preliminary plat.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Phillips.
I would move for approval of the preliminary plat 06217845 Mo Betta's Blue Springs with the 4 staff conditions.
All right, thank you. I have a motion from Commissioner Phillips, and we have a second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that motion carried as well. Next item on the agenda will be open a public hearing for item 3, general development plan. We'll also hear items 6, 7, and 8 for Franklin Smith Elementary together, and we'll vote on them separately. So open the public hearing and ask for exhibits from our city attorney, Jackie Summer.
I offer the following exhibits into the evidence. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on June 26, 2021. 4, 185 feet notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you. And ask for the staff's presentation, Ms. Wright. I believe you're giving that right for
Yep.
This application?
Yes. Okay, so before you this evening are requests for a parking surface expansion and a multi-purpose room addition to Franklin Smith Elementary at 1609 Southwest Clark Road, which is located at the northeast corner of Southwest Clark Road and Southwest 19th Street. The property is currently zoned SF7 and includes approximately 12.03 acres. The proposed 7,700 square foot addition of the multipurpose room to the front of the building requires the approval of the general development plan and the site plan and design review. The proposed multipurpose room addition will be at the front of the building and will be brick with accents of metal panels that complements the existing building. The parking surface expansion will be realigning the access point on Southwest 19th Street and adding asphalt pavement. The multipurpose room addition and parking surface expansion meet all development standards for setbacks, coverage, and height. All vehicle parking requirements have also been met on the site. Based on the location and land use, bike parking requirements have also already been met on the site. And the pedestrian access will be strengthened by the development. Staff does not believe that any additional landscaping is warranted with the request, and the site can meet all landscaping requirements with the existing landscaping. Prior to building permit approval, the site is also required to be platted. Both a preliminary and final plat have been provided. As part of the platting process, a minimum 5-foot ADA compliant sidewalk will need to be installed along Southwest 19th Street, as well as dedication of easements for the property. Staff reviewed the applications and find that all review criteria has been met and allows improvements to be made to an existing site and land use. Staff recommends approval of the general development plan with 2 conditions, approval of the site plan design review with 1 condition, approval of the preliminary plat with 2 conditions, and approval of the final plat with 2 conditions. I am here for questions if you have any.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff by the commissioners? All right, thank you. And if the applicant would like to come forward and speak, you guys need to be sworn in and state your name and address for the record.
I do. Charles Bell, 1801 West Vesper, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. Commissioners, thank you so much for considering this. With voter approval coming Tuesday, August 3rd, the school district has a couple of ballot measures for the community's consideration. We hope they support it. And then we would move forward with these plans. We have our Hollis & Miller Partners architect firm here with us. If you have specific questions, we certainly would entertain them. We appreciate your support and the ongoing development of our school district for the betterment of all of our kids. So thank you.
All right. Any questions for the applicant by the commissioners?
Charles, I just want to say thank you because you've been a busy man lately. You've done a lot for the district and we appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that, Commissioner. Thank you very much. A lot of teammates, a lot of good people that work in the school district for your community and for our students.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project? Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition to this project? Any further discussion? Oh, I'm sorry.
Chair.
Yeah, yes. Please come forward and be sworn in, state your name and address.
I do. My name is Bill Williams. I live at 1325 Southwest 19th Street, right across the street from the facility in question. And the biggest thing in concern is losing additional parking lot from what has been there, and twice a day for approximately 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. The congestion is terrible at best. The people that live across the street, at least on 19th Street, have no access or actually being able to leave their properties because of the congestion. And as I see the drawing, it looks like we're losing more parking space rather than gaining any. And I talked to some people in the school and was told that the school would be gaining more students because they're going to be taking some of the growth from the southern part of the city where the building is coming. So it would be including more traffic. And of course, since COVID, we've had even more because parents aren't sending their kids to school on buses near as much as they had in the past. So the traffic is horrible. And then evening meetings around the school, people are parking on both sides of 19th Street and all up and down Clark and deep into the subdivision to find places to be able to attend those meetings. Just would like to know that this is being considered in what is being done, because I understand that that is all school property, whether they have an upper and a lower parking lot or whatever. It just looks like that part is being left out of the whole process. Thank you.
Okay. One second, Mr. Williams. Is there any questions for the commissioners for this witness? Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition to this project? Okay. Yeah, would the applicant like to address any of the concerns that was mentioned by the witness? And again, you'll need to be sworn in. State your name and address for the record, please.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
What's your name and address?
I'm Scott Tanner. I am at 703 West 75th Street, Kansas City, Missouri, 64114. I'm with BHC Roads. We're the civil engineer on the project. To address the concerns about traffic in the area, kind of the general intent of this design, based off what the school asked us to do, was to increase the flow during drop-off and pickup hours, and to create more of a area for them to back up within the site, so it didn't go out onto the streets. So when we added that loop there on the northwest corner of the parking area, and pushed it away from the intersection, so I think we added 50 stalls of backup, which is about what the school district mentioned was the appropriate amount. So the reduced parking I don't think will be an issue, just because the only times those are really being used to their full extent is during afternoon or night meetings. So I think that addresses that.
Okay. Any questions for this witness by the commissioners? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other further discussion by the commissioners? Commissioner Craddolph.
I'd like to ask the staff, is there a traffic study that's being conducted in reference to what's being discussed?
They did submit a traffic study, we just didn't include it in the packet, but we have that.
Yeah, Commissioner Banks.
So if you've got the traffic study, did this reduce the traffic flow in front of Mr. Williams' property? Will this make it better?
I believe that Adam Hilgedick, the city engineer, could respond to that more appropriately.
Actually, a stormwater study was submitted, but I do not believe a traffic study was required for this development due to there not being a significant change in the number of expected visits or trips generated with this project.
Okay, so could I ask the applicant, the intention was to reduce the flow in front of the school, if you'll come and so the cars won't be stacked in front of the school?
Yeah, so previously, I don't know, can we go to an aerial of the existing site?
Mm-hmm.
Previously, there wasn't a formal entrance to the site. It was just kind of a big, wide entrance, and cars would, that's where the loop would begin, and cars would pull from there out onto the street.
Right.
And so now in creating an actual formal entrance, we give them area to loop around within the site. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head of the amount of stalls that we increased the backup to within the site, but I know it was a legitimate amount.
It looks like you have 3 lines.
Yeah, and that's kind of to mimic what they had in the existing site. They have informally, I don't know if it was spray paint or chalk drawn, but they had like 3 or 4 lanes. And we kind of formally drew that in just to increase safety within the site. So
Okay, thank you.
there's 4 lanes of stacking within the site now, and previously there were 4 for a little bit, but mostly 3 lanes of stacking, and now they're much longer as well.
Longer, I saw that.
So
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Okay, thank you.
okay.
Any other further discussion by the commissioners? you have another witness, so again, you'll need to be sworn in and state your name and address, please.
Dennis Hampson, 13, I do, 1321 Southwest 19. 1321. Dennis Hampson, 1321 Southwest 19th Street, across the street from the parking lot.
So, Mr. Hampson, if you could just clarify if you're in opposition or in favor of the project.
Opposition,
All right, thank you.
primarily the parking situation, not the addition. I printed this afternoon the agenda, and they have a lot of drawings on the agenda that was there. And as the gentleman was talking about, I have a better view of what he's talking about. As I see the addition for the entrance on 19th Street into the thing, there's only showing one lane. Actually, they're bringing in 3 lanes of in and 1 out. And they're kind of narrowing down, if you ever see it, but down into 1 where the existing parking is. And those parking spaces will all be eliminated. And that's close to 15 parking spots as I counted. And I don't see where he's mentioned addition of parking on this drawing at all. But I think with the growth that they're anticipating, my neighbor and I are meeting with the superintendent of schools Thursday morning at Franklin Smith to go over what the real plan is and what they're seeing there a bit for us. But we think there should be more parking available for the addition of new students and faculty, parents, whatever, coming in. And there are PTA meetings on Thursdays, once a month. That fills up what Bill is speaking of, the streets, the parking lot. So we are reducing parking in the parking lot. So I think it needs to be looked at closer with the parking situation, actually count the spots. I mean, the schoolmate said 50. Well, they're not counting the ones that are already in the street. And we are got a lot of traffic in the street parked that blocks driveways, the two-way traffic on the 19th, which is a very busy street. So I'm concerned about that.
Any questions for this witness by the commissioners?
I do.
Commissioner Banks?
Though the parking situation, I don't know that it's going to really, no matter what they do, help improve that one PTA meeting they have a month. It's still gonna.
Well, that's one item, but there are other meetings that go there. Apparently they either rent the gym out for seasonal basketball practice, things like that. So it fills up with a lot of activities that the park really brings over there for their activities, soccer practices, all that. It fills up. So there are activities throughout the various times of the year for the community using that area for parking to go into what is considered the park right now. But I don't know what would be the problem with possibly adding, like Bill was saying, a lower level parking. There are already access steps from the fields down there that you use if they put a couple rows of parking down there or something to gain more parking space for off the road parking.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions for this witness by the commissioners? Okay, thank you. And if the applicant would like to come forward again, yep.
Thank you. Just point of clarity. Mr. Williams, Mr. Hampson, we will meet Thursday with the principal at Franklin Smith, talk about your concerns. I'll be there. I was the one that talked to you on the phone last week, so I look forward to meeting with you and addressing your concerns. We want to be good neighbors, and that's what I shared with you on the phone. I mean, we want to be good neighbors.
If you could address the commission, not the
I'm so
witnesses, but
sorry.
it's okay. You're good. Yep, understood.
The one point of clarification I'd like to add was that we're not adding classrooms to Franklin Smith. We are adding a multi-purpose room. I think there may have been some confusion in our conversation on the phone. The greater project at other school sites, which we'll bring before you later, will propose adding some classrooms at some elementaries, but Franklin Smith is not one of them, and we do not project Franklin Smith's population or enrollment to increase dramatically. That may have just been a misunderstanding from our phone conversation last week. So that's the only added clarification I'd like to make.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for this applicant by the commissioners? Okay. All right. Any other final discussion by the Commissioner Craddolph? If you could turn on your microphone too, Mr. Craddolph, please.
Just out of curiosity, because there wasn't a traffic study done, can we request one? Or is that irrelevant at this point?
That would be, I guess, a staff question or city engineer question. I guess maybe clarify, what's the requirement for a traffic study?
So for schools, we do require traffic memos when there are large expansions. In this situation, the expansion was less than 25%, so there are certain items that they're not required to bring up to current code. Even still with the schools, the school district with their engineering team can make that determination based on the capacity that they have for students, visitors, and teachers to make that determination on how much parking they do need during normal school hours.
Did that answer your question, Mr.
Yes,
Brown? Okay.
thank you.
Yeah. Any other discussion by the commissioners? Okay, now we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion for the general development plan.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Billups.
I would move for approval of the general development plan 06217823 Franklin Smith Elementary with the 2 staff conditions.
All right, have a motion from Commissioner
Second.
Billups and a second from Commissioner Craddolph. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Banks?
I'm torn because I understand how they feel, but I understand that the parking, if I could just say, is not going to really solve PTA and all the activities at Franklin Smith. And I am gonna say aye.
Commissioner Billups?
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr?
Aye.
Commissioner Hose?
Aye.
Commissioner Craddolph?
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt?
Aye.
Chair Sanderson?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried unanimously.
All right, this item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, August 16th meeting at 6 p.m. I would now entertain a motion for the site plan.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Billups.
I would move for approval of SPDR 06217824 Site Plan Design Review Franklin Smith Elementary with the 1 staff condition.
All right, have a motion from Commissioner Billups. Do I have a
Second.
second? Have a second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carried with the 1 staff condition. I'll now entertain a motion for the preliminary plat.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Billups.
would move for approval of the preliminary plat PP 06217825 with the 2 staff conditions.
All right, have a motion from Commissioner Billups.
Second.
And I have a second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carried with the 2 staff conditions. And finally, I'll ask for a motion on the final plat.
Might as well finish it out,
All
Mr.
right,
Chair.
yes, Commissioner Billups.
I would also move for approval of the final plat PF 06217826, also with 2 staff conditions.
All right, have a motion
Second.
from Commissioner Billups and a second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that motion carried with the 2 staff conditions. That item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, August 16th meeting at 6 p.m. Okay. Moving on to agenda items. I'm going to open a public hearing for agenda item 4, the general development plan. We'll also hear items 9, 10, and 11 for James Lewis Elementary together, and we'll vote on them separately. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for exhibits from our city attorney.
I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on June 26, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you, and we'll hear from the staff's presentation. Ms. Kelly.
Okay, the next item for your consideration is a proposal for a different elementary school, the James Lewis Elementary School at 717 Northwest Park Road, which is located on the northwest corner of 7 Highway and Northwest Park Road. This property is zoned LI, light industrial, and includes approximately 12.31 acres. The proposed expansion requires several processes to be approved as it is an expansion to the existing use. This includes the approval of a general development plan and a site plan design review to review the proposed building addition. The proposed additions are complementary to the existing building and include approximately 8,000 square foot classroom addition to the rear northeast corner of the school and an approximately 2,000 square foot addition and renovation at the main building entrance on the front of the school. The proposed 9,950 building addition will allow for 6 new classrooms and restrooms in the rear of the existing building and a small expansion to the main entrance and adjacent offices. Materials for the classroom addition will be predominantly brick with metal paneling accents. The main entrance addition and renovations will include metal paneling to complement the existing brick on the front of the school. The building design and materials meet the non-residential design standards. A portion of the outside playground on the north side of the building will be relocated further northwest to accommodate the classroom addition. A vegetative swale is being implemented to manage increased stormwater runoff. The new building addition is proposed to be completed in a single phase. Traffic circulation will remain the same and no additional landscaping is required. Prior to occupancy, a 5-foot ADA compliant sidewalk must be installed along site frontage on 7 Highway, and any ADA improvements along Northwest Park Road must be completed. Prior to building permit approval, the site is also required to be platted. Both the preliminary and final plat have been provided. Staff recommends approval of the general development plan, site plan design review, preliminary and final plats with 2 conditions. And I will stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff by the commissioners? All right, thank you. And if the applicant would like to come forward and speak on this application as well, and I believe since this is a new public hearing, you'll need to be sworn in again and state your name and address, please.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your name and address?
Charles Bell, 1801 West Vesper, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. Once again, thank you for this consideration. This James Lewis proposal, again, with the support of the community on Tuesday, we will hope to add these classrooms to address some further growth there in that part of our city and our school district, as well as move that playground. And then they need some significant upgrades in their front area and the office area to make it more efficient school building, school facility. Appreciate your consideration, and certainly, again, we have our team here to answer your questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. And commissioners, any questions for the applicant? All right. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this project? Anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition to this project? Any further discussion from the commissioners? Go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'd entertain a motion for the general development plan.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Banks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the general development plan for James Lewis Elementary Edition, GDP-06-21-7827 with the 2 staff conditions.
All right,
Second.
and have a motion for Commissioner Banks and a second for Commissioner Craddolph. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Hose,
Aye.
Commissioner Craddolph,
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
and Chair Sanderson.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, so motion carried with two staff conditions. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, August 16th meeting at 6 p.m. I would now entertain a motion for on the site plan.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Banks.
I'd like to approve the site plan design review for James Lewis Elementary Edition, SPDR-06-21-7828 with 2 staff conditions.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Banks, a second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that motion carried with the 2 staff conditions. And then now ask for a motion on the preliminary plat.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Banks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for James Lewis Elementary Edition, PP-06-21-7829 with the 2 staff conditions.
All right, have a motion from Commissioner Banks. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carried with the 2 staff conditions. And finally, we'll ask for a motion on the final plat.
My final,
Commissioner Banks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the final plat, final motion, James Lewis Elementary Edition, PF-06-21-7830, again with the 2 staff conditions.
All right, have a motion from Commissioner
Second.
Banks and a second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that motion carried with the 2 staff conditions, and that'll be heard, or recommended and heard by City Council at their Monday, August 16th meeting at 6 p.m. Okay, so item 12 is the, next item on the agenda is item 12, Master Alternative Sign Plan for the Blue Springs High School mural. And I would ask for the staff comments from Ms. Wright.
So before you this evening is a request for the installation of 4 murals for Downtown Alive at 204 Southwest 11th Street, which is located just east of Southwest 11th Street in downtown Blue Springs. The property is currently zoned T5, which is urban center, and includes approximately 0.21 acres. Let me see. Okay. The proposed mural installation includes 3 murals at 64 square feet each, and 1 at 32 square feet. The murals were done by students at Blue Springs High School and are centered around historic Blue Springs themes. The murals will be mounted on the north facade of the building, and the sign code currently states that a maximum of 1 mural is allowed, and the request is for 4 murals. Staff supports the request since all 4 murals follow the same theme. Downtown Alive has also provided staff with a maintenance and removal plan for the murals. The Public Art Commission met on July 14th, 2021, and recommends approval with 2 conditions. Staff reviewed the applications and found that the only code deviation was the request for 4 murals, which staff still supports. Therefore, staff allows the improvements to be made on the existing site and land use. The Public Art Commission recommends approval of the master sign plan with 2 conditions. The murals be placed at eye level so cars do not block the paintings, and that a placard be installed to explain the significance of the murals and credit the artists. Staff recommends approval of the master sign plan application with 3 conditions. And I will stand for any questions.
All right, any questions for staff by the commissioners? Commissioner Billups.
I don't have a question, but I just do want to let you and the rest of the commission know I will be abstaining from this vote because I'm on the board for Downtown Alive.
All right, very good. Thank you, Commissioner Billups. Any other questions by from the commissioners for staff? Commissioner Banks.
Since I can't picture how they're gonna be eye level for which adult, child, I mean, how
I'm
high up?
assuming that the Public Art Commission meant eye level above the hood of a car, so that if a car is parked in front of it, it's not blocking it. That was the way that they had explained
A
it.
car or an SUV?
They didn't really specify.
Because, yeah, I just wondered how high they would be so you could see them
Yeah, they didn't give an exact height, so.
above my head. Okay. I just trying to visualize how 4 of them are eye level, you know, if you're walking or if you're driving and you can't see over. Thank you.
Yep.
I guess I'll just wait and see how they look.
Mr. Wright. Yeah.
And I would point out that based on the height of that building, there's only about a foot more that they could go up before they are at the roof line of that building, so there's not a lot of room to increase the height on
Not
those.
a very tall building.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff by commissioners? All right. Thank you. Is the applicant here? Would they like to speak? Yes. Let's go ahead. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Cindy Miller. I'm president of Downtown Alive, and I can probably answer most of your questions about the murals. As the staff report said, these were done as a project with the Blue Springs High Schools, both North, South, and the Alternative Valley View School, back in 2015. And these murals were placed on 4 different buildings around the downtown district. The Inklings building, which is now vacant, Print Graphics, Bike Stop, and then the one was originally where the location is today. Over the course of the last year or so, all of those other buildings needed to do maintenance, so we took those murals down and we're gonna put them back, but then we had the idea that they would make a better statement and be seen more if they were across this one major long building right in the center of the downtown district, which adjacent to the municipal parking lot. So they are up now. We did get permission to put them up in advance because of our event, our Corks and Canvas. It was an art event coming up, pending approval, so we hope we don't have to take them down. But they are up a little bit higher. To answer your question about the SUV, we put them up as high as we could without getting into the construction features of the building, so they're about, like I think Matt said, maybe a foot down. But when cars are parked there, you can see all of the murals. They were done by themes. The art students came up with the themes. They used water, transportation, iconic structures, and education. So those 4 themes, like I said, they've been up for a really long time. We took them down to put them in this location. Hopefully you see fit to let us continue with them there. Our plan, pending funding, we're kind of short on funding. We've been hit hard with COVID like all organizations have been. We didn't have our gala last year, so that's coming up. Once we replenish some of our funds, we'll be able to come up with some sort of a plaque, and we'll, list the high school partnership. We also had Truman Heartland Community Foundation partnered with us on that project and did a big behind-the-scenes tour in our downtown district of those murals and some of the art that we put in. So it's kind of got a lot of recognition already. We've gotten a lot of good comments from people who have noticed them on this long building here in the downtown district. So our plan is to put up a plaque that talks a little bit about the themes and when they were built and the construction of them, and the painting was by the school district and so forth. So
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant by the commissioners? Commissioner Craddolph.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for the wonderful job you're doing
oh,
downtown
thanks.
line.
Thank you.
I have a question about the theme and what these pictures represent. Do they represent the status quo of all of the high schools, would you say? Or could you explain that to me, how the artists achieved what they want to represent with these pictures, and what does it mean?
Sure. Each of the art students, or the art teachers, excuse me, from each of the high schools, I think 2 arts teachers at each high school got together in a meeting. We met with them, Truman Heartland people met with them, and kind of hashed out the direction of this project. We wanted some kind of a mural project. We didn't really want to dictate to the students and the high schools what that project would be, so we let them do some brainstorming, and they're the ones that came up with the 4 themes that are kind of original to Blue Springs. Water is the Burris Old Mill Park. The transportation is the train and the depot that came through downtown. Education is the original schoolhouse on Vesper next to the admin building now. And the iconic structure is the Adams Dairy Farm that was kind of well known in the Blue Springs area. So those students came up with those themes. We didn't provide that direction at all. So once they came up with the themes, then they split up which high school would do which murals, and they just went to work. They couldn't come. The reason they're not painted on a building is due to liability issues from the students. It was completely a student painted project. So we did them on plywood boards that were kind of white coated, and they did them at school kind of as an off-season project. Most of that work was done in the summer by volunteer art students. And once they were finished, then we bordered them and were able to hang them up.
I guess I think they're beautiful pictures. I wonder about the culturalistic concept of it. The pictures that are being shown. Our schools are full of different cultures and different backgrounds, and I'm just wondering, does it represent all the kids of the school, or would you think that it would be an issue of what's depicted from the picture other than just the buildings and the sky and so forth? Do you think all different cultures of students should be depicted in pictures?
Well, honestly, I'm not really sure how to answer your question. When we initiated this project and we wanted to do some kind of a mural project, it was supported by, we had to have a letter of support before we could ever go to Truman Heartland Community Foundation to write a grant application. And the letter of support came from Dr. Finley with the school district, and he knew full well what the direction of the project was at that time, because we had already had the meetings. So I think the school district was certainly behind the project from the beginning. As to whether or not all students were involved, I would say probably not, because it was just the students that were the art students. We didn't exclude them, but that was just kind of the people who wanted to participate.
Does it represent the district as a whole?
I think it represents the city as a whole, and I think it's important that the students are the ones that came up with the themes. We didn't dictate the themes to them, so they did research. They got other classes involved, some of the history classes and things, and they did research on the city to determine what the theme should be.
Right.
So,
I see. Well,
yeah.
thank you, Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Commissioner Banks.
I get it that it pertains to the city, not to the people. That I've been in Blue Springs over 30 years, so I can see the Old Mill Park, Adams Dairy Barn. I mean, these are historic sites, and I see that the kids looked at the history of the city. So that's how I take it, not because there's not, and whoever was in the art, they looked at the city history.
right.
Is that what I am gathering?
Yeah, yes, exactly. And it's not really depicting the students as much as their direction of what they wanted to paint, and it was the historic nature of the city, so.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
I agree with Commissioner Banks. I think it definitely represents the city, not a specific person or a specific group or anything. So I think they're fantastic pictures, and I'm very supportive of them being here.
They did an awesome job. We're very proud to have been able to partner them, and we really just provided the materials. We provided the paint. We, helped them facilitate whatever they needed, and it was their brainstorm, their idea, their creativity, and this is the end result. And we couldn't have been prouder.
You should be very proud. They look very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
Any other questions from commissioners? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion by the commissioners?
I just think, if I could, Mr. Chair, this is a beautiful addition to downtown. So, and without it being painted on the building. So.
All right. I would now ask for, entertain a motion for the master alternative sign plan.
Well, I wasn't gonna make a motion, but.
Commissioner Banks.
Promise. I'd like to make a motion to approve the master alternative sign plan for Blue Springs High School murals, ASP-07-21-7852. The Public Arts Commission conditions was 2, the city staff was 3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Banks and a second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. All right, very good. So that motion carried with the stated staff conditions. All right, we will, next item on the agenda is item 13, preliminary plat for McAtee Meadows. I would now ask for the staff presentation for Mr. Wright.
Thank
comments.
you, Chair Sanderson.
Yeah.
Commissioners, before this evening is just a request for an extension of a previously approved preliminary plat that is due to expire later in August. The applicant, Chad McAtee, has provided a cover letter just making that extension request. And I will note that we have received and reviewed their construction plans. And I believe that those were approved last week. So they are continuing to move forward. They just were a little bit delayed as part of that process, getting those plans developed and reviewed. But they fully intend on moving forward with those construction plans, and just request a 2-year extension to allow them to get those public improvements installed and improvements that serve that development, so they can then submit a final plat. So the way that our our code is written is that a 2-year, they would need to request a 2-year extension if they will not have a final plat approved by the preliminary plat expiration date in August.
All right, any questions for staff on this application request? Commissioner Billups.
Just to refresh, make sure we're all remembering this project, and in case some of us weren't here, these lots were going to be attached housing front to back, is that correct?
Some of them are side to side, and some of them are over under duplexes.
Over under, okay.
Yep.
See, that-
So there are
I
7.
didn't
The
remember
preliminary plat
correctly.
is on the screen that was included. So this was a 7-lot duplex development, so a total of 14 units with shared parking and detention basin. So
Thank you.
the main items that need to be constructed before final plat approval include the detention basin and possibly some minor public improvements along South Avenue.
Any other questions for staff by the commissioners? All right, thank you. And I don't believe the applicant is here to make a presentation, so any other further discussion from the commissioners? Okay, I would entertain a motion on the preliminary plat extension.
Kids, I thought I was done.
Commissioner Banks.
I make a motion to approve the preliminary plat McAtee Meadows extension request, PP-08-19-7032.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Banks, second from Commissioner Craddolph. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that motion carried. Thank you. Item 14 is other business. Mr. Wright.
We will have a meeting on Monday, August 9th. I have several items to bring forward, including a few public hearings. So we will have a meeting in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you. Any other business from the commissioners? Commissioner Billups.
I would be remiss if I did not let everyone know that, again, in my role as a board member for Downtown Alive, we were not able to hold our annual fundraiser last year or this spring, but we are going to have the Piccadilly Gala for the Ladies' Night on September 10th, so that we can earn some money, so that we can get that plaque and maybe get some other things as well to help with our downtown. And any lady is invited to attend, and any gentleman who'd like to come help serve is more than welcome to. We'd like to see you all there.
Is it on the website?
I'm sorry?
Is it on the website?
It is on the website, yes.
Oh.
All right, thank you. Any other business by commissioners? Okay, if there's no other business, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion from Commissioner Banks
I'll
and
second.
second from Commissioner Honeycutt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned. Good night.
Because I went at the last meeting.
Oh, Ashley.